on Niger's junta closing ECOWAS borders against Niger, even though Niger's borders have already been shut against the rest of the world. What do you make of this move by the regional body?
Yeah, well, I think, it actually is a frustrating situation for ECOWAS right now. Obviously, this is the very first of perhaps many attempts that they will be making to bring some sanity to what is going on in Niger. So it's just a first, you could call it perhaps maybe a knee-jerk reaction because they have not engaged with the junta before even imposing the sanctions. So I think this is just the first of many steps that will be taken. But whether, again, you can begin to talk about the possibility of the effectiveness of this sanction dissuading the coupists or the military adventurers. Don't forget that in virtually all the West African countries where we have had sanctions, even after periods of engagement with the junta in those places, sanctions have been imposed, and often now they are still in power. So sanctions have limited applications and they have limited effectiveness. But I think it's just one step that has to be taken to show the displeasure of the sub-regional body towards what is going on in Niger. But obviously, like I said, this is just one of many things that might have to actions that might have to be undertaken against the junta. The sanctions will not go anywhere in deterring the coupists from what they have done, from discouraging them from what they have done. They will hold on to power.
Yes, but you don't think they would have an impact on Niger's economy or perhaps on the people itself? Because Nigeria also shares borders with Niger, and I know that if those borders are shut, a lot of commerce that goes on between both sides will be affected.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about I agree with you. It's going to have very severe impact. I mean, we have seen what the closure of borders, by Nigeria does to other West African countries because of the size of Nigeria's economy, because of the size of Nigeria as a whole. We have seen that the effect it has, even with countries that are not exactly adjoining our borders. I'm talking about Ghana, obviously Benin, after, what you have in Cotonou. So it's going to take an effect. But then you're talking about the ordinary people, and that can only be effective if the junta, the military junta, is concerned about the welfare or the interests of the Nigerian people. They are not interested. And, so it's always the same story about, the same excuses that they give whenever they want to come in. They want to change the government. They want to have, more responsible civilian government and governance and all that. So yes, it is always going to take a toll in every part of the world where sanctions have been undertaken, whether by the United Nations or other global regional bodies. It has always been the ordinary people that suffer the effects of the debilitating effect of these sanctions, and not the ruling class, because they have the access to the resources of the country, to the very little resources of the country, and they will prefer to fend for themselves first rather than the people. And of course, it would have political implication, because that would, as a way of putting pressure on the regime because of the anger of the people if they have to face very severe economic situations as a result of the sanctions.
Well, obviously, people are not seeing it that way. You do have some coup supporters who've been out on the streets, encouraging the junta to continue, and then warning against those who are opposing the coup in Niger. So the coup does seem to have, some support. Well, why do you think that is? Because not much has been heard from Niger regarding the political or economic situation of the country, or how high-handed or how fraudulent the government may have been, which may have provided conditions for the coup to have taken place.
Yeah, well, for those who are supporting the coup, it's early days yet. Because obviously, I doubt if anybody is going to feel the effect now. It's in the next few days, in the next few weeks, that the effect will begin to come in. And then the people will be faced with the reality of the consequences of the coup as a result of the sanctions that have been imposed on them. So at that moment, you want to see how many people will continue to remain adamant with regards to the support that they have for the military, junta. Of course, that is not to say that you will still not have people supporting them. But I can tell you, that when people begin to feel the pinch, they're going to look for those that are responsible. But beyond that, again, is the fact that, the basis of the coup, of some of the coups that have taken place in West Africa, have been led by the civilian governments. And so, and I think it is heartbreaking, to see that after strenuous effort to get the military to go back to the barracks, you now have a situation where the military has, tried to reinvent itself by, getting involved with the, national politics in a country like Niger and other West African countries. And it shouldn't be so. Because the reason is that essentially the civilian government in this, and that's one thing that I think African political leadership should begin to lend credence to. They should begin, to concentrate on changing. They need to change the narrative. They need to change, this continuous cycle of bad governance in the West African, in Africa in general, especially the West African, subcontinent, that makes it easy for military adventurers, to get to power, to shoot themselves into power, and to begin to give reasons of misgovernance and the corruption and the instability as a basis, as a reason for why they took over. And so African political leadership must be able to go beyond, this issue of just condemning military coups and ensuring that this time around they concentrate on having a good governance across the continent to make it absolutely impossible for the military to want to shoot themselves into, to power. I think it's a tragedy. We saw what is happening now in Sudan and in Guinea. When the military junta took over in Guinea, we saw even civil society organizations also lauding and supporting the military junta. And it's just for a period of time, because in the next few years, everybody is going to wonder why the military has any business in government and they want to push them out. So we suffer from a lack of, memory. We seem to forget too soon. But that is not a justification for the bad governance that goes on in West Africa and in Africa as a whole.
Now, unfortunately, when the military does come in, the most difficult thing to determine is when they're leaving. And it's also difficult for them also to determine when they're leaving. We've seen a classic example is Mali, where ECOWAS is trying to negotiate its way through, even sending a special delegation led by former Nigerian President, Goodluck Jonathan, to engage with the Malian leaders. Eventually, they said they will determine their own future, they will determine their own constitution and so on. But if you notice, more recent coups have happened in Francophone West African countries or Francophone countries in Africa. Do you think there's a particular message here, even though the junta does say that this is not targeted against France? It has nothing to do with colonial masters.
Well, they might say so, but I think the coincidences are just too much. Obviously, if you look at the engagement of African countries with their former colonial masters, I think that of France has been the most toxic. Obviously, France has a completely different arrangement. The historical, the level or the kind of pattern of colonialism, between France and the colonized states was absolutely different. Of course, we know the policy of assimilation and all that. And so I think in a way it has rubbed off. And again, France's continuous economic engagement with, their colonial, former colonial, territories have been, like I said, exceedingly very toxic. And people, have believed that it is exceedingly unfair and much more debilitating than what we had, for instance, with the British and the Portuguese in Africa. And I think that this is, in a way, they can deny it all they want, but I think in a way, this is also a reaction, because you have seen what is happening in France, in Mali. They have kicked out the French troops that were there for whatever purposes, they say for protection and to keep stability in Mali. And then, allowed some other actors like the Wagner Group to come into Mali. And so we're having this back and forth between, some of these French-speaking West African countries and France.
Nous demandons le départ immédiat et sans condition de toutes les forces d'occupation au Niger, notamment les forces étrangères françaises. Pendant 12 ans de régime, le quotidien des Nigériens n'a pas changé.
Par conséquent, les Nigériens ont appelé à sortir massivement et de bouter dehors cette politique. Nous sommes également sortis pour dire à ce petit Macron de la France que le Niger nous appartient. C'est à nous de faire ce que nous voulons du Niger, ce que nous voulons, nous traitons avec qui nous voulons et comme nous voulons.
In the event the authorities' demands are not met within 1 week, all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger
Good evening, wherever you're watching from. Yeah, happy new week to you. I'm so sorry I couldn't make it yesterday because of the poor network. I'm so sorry about that. I thank you for staying tuned with us. Thank you. Please, if you come in across this channel for the first time, don't forget to click the like button and turn on your notification bell so as to get notified whenever we're live. And please, guys, let's not forget to make use of our super chat. Alright, so today's newspaper. So in the newspaper, we will be starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. It says Wike, Yari, and 5 others take bow as Senate screens 14 nominees. And Super Falcons to earn 46 million naira each for picking World Cup round of 16 tickets. Saudi Airline resumes full service, launches new aircraft in Kano. And Labour faults Tinubu's broadcast, insists on tomorrow's protest. We will intervene on our pleas if necessary, coming from President. And announces 200 billion naira for agri interventions, 75 billion naira to strengthen manufacturing sector. The president's broadcast deceptive. This is from Atiku. And Senate leadership to meet presidency. And LC cover planned strike. Scrabble for APC's vacant. Position intensifies as NEC meets tomorrow. 83 persons died and 836 affected as diphtheria spreads to 8 states. You can read that up on page 6. And undergraduates, 2 others jailed for gang whipping causing. Dangote estimate reports 950 billion naira pan-African revenue. And over to the Punch newspaper. Senate screen 14 tackles nominees over age, tax, and external reserves shared $167 million as Naira slumps further. And Tinubu decorates service chiefs, general pledge loyalty. Labour insists on protest as Tinubu okay 500 billion naira palliative. And 3,000 buses. And federal government plans wage increase, relief for MSMEs and others, resumes talks with NLC today. NLC faults federal government reforms. Lagos slashes fails as protests rock Oyo no soon. Gallant Falcons pockets 1 billion naira reach World Cup last 16. That's on page 31. And for a price hike, drivers threaten to dump bots Uber. President ground has medical workers dissect collapse. Ogun Health Center. and adopters collected 350,000 naira to release me, says Ondo kidnapped victim. Niger junta arrests top politicians and Germany withdraws aid. And over to the Vanguard newspaper. Cash squeeze, how return drag down investment in federal government savings bond. That's on page 19. Tension as ex-ML Samurai portrait reappears in Kano government house. And 110 suspects arrested as Fitiri relaxes curfew. Visit Lucid Ohanaze. And on the subsidy removal, Tinubu orders federal institutions to stop arbitrary fees hike. And Supreme Court, NBA, Obaseki Mbab mourn as Justice Wednesday dies at 64. Tinubu attacks hardship with 500 billion naira palliatives. That's on page 5. Tells Nigerians I came to help, not to hurt. Saves 1 trillion naira from subsidy removed in 2 months. Approves 100 billion naira for procurement of 3,000 CNG buses. To fund 100,000 MSMEs, 1,300 minor businesses, orders release of 200,000 irons of rents, monitoring effect of exchange rate, inflation on gasoline prices to intervene if necessary, to make budgetary allocation for new minimum wage. Lagos Labour insists on nationwide mass protest from tomorrow. Boko Haram terrorists kill 11 farmers, injure 1 in failed ransom deal in Borno. Senate out screening of 3 ministerial nominees over alleged forgery and age falsification. And there's a diagram displaying the Tinubu's petrol subsidy and palliatives and orders. That's done. Then over to the Nigeria Tribal newspaper. Oyo workers protest lock secretariat. And Senate screen Winke Edu Tuji Ojo 11 others sustains bow and go presses. Battle rages in states yet to get ministerial nomination. And salary review coming 125 billion naira to energize MSMEs is coming from Tinubu. Approves buses for tertiary institutions, removes restriction on student loans. Sanwo-Olu okays 50% fare reduction in BRT ride and water transportation. Adamawa Road Safety Police arrange 110. Can read that up on page 4. And on Peg Tinubu Atiku Obi to adopt final written addresses today. Nigeria records 839 cases, 83 diphtheria deaths in 8 states. And a key point on the president's speech, and one of which is government to spend 75 billion naira to fund 75 enterprises at 9% per annum interest rate in 9 months. 1 million nano businesses to get 50 billion naira conditional grants. 1,300
billion naira. Release of 200,000 metric tons of grants. Oh, excuse me. Release of 200,000 metric tons of grains from reserves for households across 36 states and FCT. Provision of 225,000 metric tons of fertilizers, seedlings, and other inputs of farmers. Release of 50 billion naira each to cultivate hectares of rice, maize, meat, cassava, and provision of 100 billion naira to acquire 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG fueled buses for distribution to transport companies at 9% per annum interest rate. And then we have mixed reactions throughout Tinubu's address, of which you can read that up on page 3. Of which one of it is that expert express concern on loan moratorium, rules of other tiers of government. And Obe comments president says powerful team needed to implement policy. Speech done to convince organized labor not to embark on protests. This coming from articles held. And Adamawa Luton, please rate 110. Can read that up on page 4. And still on the PEC, Tinubu article will be to adopt final written addresses today. And over to the Nation newspaper. It's time to deliver, President tells service chiefs. Labour insists on protest despite President outlines measures to lift economy. Ogbe orders hail presidential plan. Okay, so still on the highlights of the president's speech. You can see it on the back page of the Nation newspaper. And there's a quote: the period may be hard on earth, and there is no doubt about it that it is tough on earth. But I urge you all to look beyond the present temporary pains and aim at the larger picture. All of our good and helpful plans are in the works. I know that they will work. That's a quote from President Tinubu. Diphtheria has killed 83, infected 836. CBN exempts perhaps orders and from calimate policies. And on the Daily Sun newspaper, sit at home, enough is enough, says Ohanaze. So Ohanaze is giving warning to the Biafra. So Tinubu ends of fuel price intervention, promises salary review investment of 100 billion naira on buses, reviews how government saved 1 trillion naira in 2 months, decorates CDE service chiefs, charges them to maintain peace, stability, broadcast slap. That's from article. Anger swells in Oyo, Osun as protesters block government house road. We will not die in silence, Lagos NLC. Lagos declares 25% discount on transport fare. And that's on page 6. And protest, no going back. This coming from Labour. Still on page 6. Supreme Court Justice FHC George Dai at Owenze was assaulted. An idiot, jurist, this coming from NBA. Is dead shocking, big loss. This coming from Kalu on page 8. Court restrains Abia panel from public ex-governor Ipewazu and others. Federal government raises security concerns over second Nigeria breach. Senate screen confirms Winke Momo orders as ministers. Urges Labour to shave impending strike. Diphtheria 83 deaths recorded as NPACDA. And on the Guardian newspaper, Tinubu justifies reforms, unveils 500 billion naira package to ease pains. Tinubu presidency road to 100 days, reform and palliatives. There's a breakdown there on that, of which you can see on page 6. And Labour federal government meets again in last attempt to stop tomorrow's protest. Concerns over Mavab's delayed 5G development operation. Senate jettisons promise of thorough screening for ministerial nominees. And still on the Niger coup, groups warn ECOWAS on danger of military intervention. And Super Falcon to earn $60,000 each for making second round. And still on the subsidy time for sacrifice and responsible governors. And on this day newspaper, Labour insists on nationwide protest from tomorrow. Fourth, Tinubu's ability to control inflation, gasoline prices. We are dealing with oil cables, says Gajabamila. NSA, we inherited a very bad situation. Civil society group backs Labour, mobilizes members. And federal government of Falana, peaceful protest, no justification for disrupting, shutting down essential services. Stock market gains 7.1 trillion naira in 7 months and amid forex reforms. That's on page 10. Tinubu Bimoan's state of economy says after darkness comes glorious dawn. Claims national wealth dwelled on favorable terms to a handful of people who became filthy rich. To spend 75 billion naira to create jobs in manufacturing sector between now and March 2024. Energize SMEs with 125 billion naira. Devotes 100 billion naira to purchase of 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG Fred buses and others release of 200,000 metric tons of grains to households nationwide. Tolerance with Labour for upward review of minimum wage and promises necessary interventions to halt exchange rate depreciation, fuel price increase, inflation. Tinubu broadcasts
waste of time, and Article 8 declares President holds decoration ceremony for service chiefs. And that's all on the newspaper. And over to Mr. Ayowa. Good morning, you're welcome, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, cheers, God. Just you're doing great.
I guess you are sitting at home too.
I'm at home.
This
So
is why you waste time before you answer. You waste time before you answer. Dear friends, I have a good news for you. Have you watched this urban development by that Biafra government in exile unveiled? Have you watched it?
Which of them?
I want to advise Biafra to go and watch it. Urban development of Biafra. How Biafra will look like. The development that they will bring to Biafra immediately. Immediately they declare the second Biafra Republic. The development, they want people to go and buy houses there, put money into it so that we can use the project to fight this war. So that when Biafra comes, you will immediately own your own apartment. Very nice development, urban development, the way it will look like, the houses, the structure. You will see it there. It is in the social media. Biafra government in exile unveiled it day before yesterday. I want to tell Biafrans to go and watch it. When you watch it finish, you will see the reason why you have to sit at home, even for 1 year. Because when you will endure the sufferings for a while, but enjoyment will last forever. There will be no stress whenever you are doing your business. Whenever you want to clear your goods, you'll be no stress. There will be no custom delaying your goods or something like that. Your business environment will be very clean. Your business environment will be okay for everyone. You have the reason why to support Biafra and sit at home. Very important. So what is the topic of today?
The Niger coup.
Okay. The Niger coup. The
But you know
Niger
about
coup.
the coup now, right?
Yes, I know about the coup. It's very good. Very important and very good. Very important and very good. Because why it's very good is this. When I heard that, I was hearing rumor that it was sponsored by our president here. I don't know. I don't know how any coup that the strike in Africa, they will be saying that it was Putin. It was Putin from Russia that did it. How would they say such of a thing when they say Americans have their own troops over there? France have their own troops. Russia also have their own troops. How would they be fingering Russia? This is a Western world. They want crisis so that they will be making the mineral resources over there. That's what they want. That's what they like. That's what they do. That's why you have Boko Haram in Nigeria, which is zoo. You have Ice Wipe. They sponsor them so that they will pass backyard and taking off the mineral resources over there. That's how they do. You understand? I heard Ohanaze people saying that people should not sit at home. I want to tell Ohanaze, has gone. How many people have they give food? This Ohanaze, maybe I don't even know the group of Ohanaze that is talking this thing, whether the one of Dave Umahi, which is Isi Guzoro, that small boy that live in Abuja. He don't even know what is happening in his village. How many Fulani herdsmen, how many people they have kidnapped, he don't know. Or the one of Hope was a criminal. Odin this criminal. Those ones, all these people don't know what the masses are going through. I remember when I was very little, Iwanyanwu, many roads, abandoned projects awarded by Iwanyanwu. Federal government awarded it through Iwanyanwu. He will do some little kilometer and he will abandon it. I know we know all these people with their bad records. These are the people that we want to avoid in Biafra Republic. If you have dent, if your record is not good, you can't come to govern Biafra. You understand? There will be nothing like Ohanaze. If you want to become king, you be it in your family. Why you see all this Ohanaze creating everywhere is British. British did all these things to divide the people. To divide the people. Today I was watching one prank and I saw two Rivers people. Both of them are speaking Igbo. They asked them to speak their language. They speak Igbo frequently. The other one say Kedo, the other one say Odoma, the other one say Obim. I say, look at, before you know it, Nwike will come tell us his name is not Nwike again. His name is another thing, that they are not Igbos. They forget that their Rivers is Igbo. Many Igbos are there, just the different small language. So Ohanaze has nothing to do with sit at home because they don't care about the masses. They don't care about the poor. Day before yesterday, there was kidnapping going on in Anambra State. While the soldiers are at Enugu looking for whose people to kill, innocent people to kill, while kidnappers are there, Fulani, kidnapping people in Anambra. I have forgotten that village. I could have said it here. While the soldiers are looking for IPOB members, innocent people to kill. That's why we want to leave the zoo. You can hear their president yesterday. What he said, Abi? Kawa?
Yeah,
I thought you read that news. The president, what he said yesterday about subsidy and food that is going to share to people.
My yesterday was terrible. I couldn't have access to my internet.
Okay, yeah. I called this voice of the people this morning. One lady was hosting there and I asked him, did you think that country is going to work again? He said, of course, it's going to work. I told him it's better. He support the disintegration of that country and support Biafra. He was very angry that this is national news. Why will I say such? I said, I will say it again and again. That he should not cut me. Let me say my point. He started saying that I leave what I'm supposed to talk and I'm saying another thing. I say it's almost the same thing. Connect the dots. You vote somebody, they deny you your rights. You vote somebody, they deny somebody that you people vote that win election and give you an election president. This is what you get. When is it going to stop? Every day you come and complain and you go back and sleep, no action. So we are taking action and we are sitting at home. If we pain you, you go in jail because I have my family over there and I told them to sit at home as well. I have friends and I told them to sit at home as well. And by the grace of God, they are sitting at home because some of them told me I should send something for them, this and that. I said they should manage and sit at home. We will suffer for a meantime, but we will enjoy forever, both our unborn children. Thank you. What about Lex O?
Israel is doing fine, just busy.
He did not show up this morning.
No, it's very busy.
You did not show up yesterday too. I was
My
expecting you
network
yesterday,
was
but I didn't.
I couldn't even make calls. I couldn't do anything with my phone. Like network was really, really terrible yesterday. No access to the internet. Can't
Which
receive
network
calls.
is that you are using?
MTN.
Which network are you using? Bon appetit.
MTN. For some time now,
MTN.
somehow. Yeah, they've been having glitches in the network. So throughout yesterday, no calls, no.
Wow.
I couldn't see. Yeah, so sorry about that.
Ah, wow,
And the time your network is okay today.
people that suffer. That's why we are telling our people to support the disintegration of that country. Support Biafra, just for a
Okay,
while,
for those that need
to attempt
updates on
Israel. You said?
I just wanted to read a brief stuff on the Niger coup for those who need update on that. I'll say the coup leaders who seized
Okay.
power last week in Niger have alleged that the toppled government had authorized France to carry out an attack on the presidential palace to try to free President Mohamed Bazoum. Colonel Amadou Abdrahman, one of the co-plotters, made the claims on Monday on state television. He said the authorization was signed by Foreign Minister Azomi Massoudou, acting as Prime Minister. The whereabouts of Massoudou and Bazoum remain unknown. Bazoum's PND's party on Monday warned that Niger risks becoming a dictatorial and totalitarian regime after a series of arrests. The Foreign Minister, Catherine Colonna, said it was still possible to restore Bazoum to power. Bazoum, a Western ally whose election just over 2 years ago marked Niger's first peaceful transition of power since independence, was toppled on Wednesday by the elite Presidential Guard. Guard Chief General Abdouraz Amin Chalni declared himself leader, but his claim has been dismissed internationally, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has given him a week to hand back power. On Monday, the oil and mining ministers were arrested. The party said the head of PND's National Executive Committee was also arrested. The coup leaders had previously arrested the interior minister, the transport minister, and a former defense minister. The party said the putschist took aims at Paris on national television, saying in its search for ways and means to intervene militarily in Niger, France, with the complicity of some Nigerians, held a meeting with the chief of staff of the Nigerian National Guard to obtain the necessary political and commercial and financial transactions between its member states and Niger and freezing assets in regional central banks. Economic sanctions could have a deep impact on Niger, one of the world's poorest countries, which relies on imports from Nigeria for up to 90% of its power, according to the International Renewable Energy Agency. The sanctions could be disastrous, and Niger needs to find a solution to avoid them. Prime Minister Ahmadou Mahamadou told French media outlet Radio France International. Adram's comments also come a day after ECOWAS warned that it could use force if Bazoum were not reinstated within a week. The West African bloc said it would take all measures to restore constitutional order. Otherwise, such measures may include the use of force for its effects, it said in a statement. Chadian President Mahamat Idris Deby visited Niamey on Sunday as an ECOWAS envoy and posted photos of separate meetings with Bazoum and Tiani. ECOWAS also imposed strict sanctions, including suspending all to enter the compound, but were dispensed by tear gas. All measures the Presidential Guard, which seized power last week, after blocking Bazoum inside the palace in the capital. Naomi has previously warned against foreign attempts to extract the president, saying it would result in bloodshed chaos. The necessary political and military authorization. It is wrong, Colonel told France BMM news channel of the alleg- allegation, adding that it was still possible to return the democratically elected president to power. And it's necessary because destabilization is perilous for Niger and its neighbors, she said. French President Emmanuel Macron on Sunday promised immediate and uncompromising action if French citizens or interests were attacked after thousands relied outside the French embassy in Niamey. Some protesters tried when people say there's an embargo, land borders are closed, air borders are closed. It's extremely difficult for people. Niger is a country that relies heavily on the international community, it said. Landlocked Niger has had a turbulent political history since gaining independence in 1960. Before Wednesday, there had been four coups and numerous other attempts, including two previously against Bazoum. Yes, so that is it on this Niger coup.
It's very good. It's very good. What I want to advise them is everybody minding business. Because waiting then go shoot people there, you know, go be small thing. Because those soldiers that took over that government, they will never surrender easily.
They've already warned, they've already sent
And
warning to ECOWAS military.
waiting then go shoot those ECOWAS military, no be small thing. Then we could not get weapons sef. Because the Western world, mostly Russia, are backing themselves. Waiting then go do them. It's better a person warning Papa. May you sit down. This one wait to know they talk. Then get soldier. Nigeria get soldier, no be mouth to them get. They no get single soldier. Their soldier no do training self. All this Boko Haram where them pack pool for military. Now then go fight ECOWAS war. I been in South Africa where they with Russia. I been in all those country where military don't take over. Who goes? How many soldiers then get? ECOWAS where they make noise. It's like almost 5 countries now, say for Africa. Don't where coup don't happen. Where military they rule them. Now those one go come Greece send the troops go take over where military take over. You know that happen now. No let Nigeria go suffer them. And the Nigeria zoo self, they no get military. They no fit combat the full enhancement than the Boko Haram. And that's why we don't collect the whole local government for them in the north. They no fit combat them now to go Niger Republic, go and combat foreign machineries where they vest. I know they beg them, make them no go, make them go so that the soldiers go reduce. We go know what now God self they do them for us. So we go know how many where we go kill before Biafra come. As then they collect water follow. Then go remaining one go there. We dey pray make them go self. Make them pack all of them go. Before them go come back, Boko Haram and ISWAP go take over the north. The remaining one will go finish them for down. They know any other person where they go take defend their country. Everything goes scatter quick. Thank you. And God bless you.
All right, thanks so much for coming, and thank you all for staying tuned. To see you same time, same station tomorrow. To have an amazing day, and also happy new month to you. Happy new month to you all.
Happy
Yeah,
moment too. I forgot self to tell you happy moment.
happy new month. I hope Priye joins us soon. Although this month is her birthday, hope she joins us soon. All right, do have an amazing day.
Nous demandons le départ immédiat et sans condition de toutes